Okay, so this is a generic T-34 hull construction video. We're just going to add the lower parts of the chassis now. And we're going to do that by having a few longer sections of tracing paper patches cut. Don't need 4, 2 is enough for each vehicle you're doing. And some either 4:1 or full strength glue. 4:1 will do. Full strength it also is good for parts of this. You could use full strength for the first part. 4:1 works fine, so I'm just going to use that for the whole process. So first thing actually you want to do is make sure these are nice and flat and straightened. Once they're on, there's no doing that anymore. And also that you have your holes bored. And there's a couple other things you might want to do now. Sometimes you have a bit of flexed front plate here, and you can kind of stick your thumbs in to the inside of the vehicle and push, try to flatten this plate here, because you're not going to be able to get back in there. And sometimes when you've done this gluing process, you've kind of created a bit of a cup in the front, and you can sort of try and get rid of that effect a little bit now, and basically never again. So it's good to do that now. Now if you're constructing the SU-76, this is an SU-76 chassis, you don't really need to worry about that because that will be covered anyways. But if the back is having that effect at all, you might want to take care of that on the SU-70, or not 76, SU-85. SU-76 is a much different vehicle. Anyways, so once you have all that done, you want to just test fit this. And what you're trying to look for is to have these arrows lined up on the side and the bottom of the hull, and there to be no lip down here. So this shouldn't be being forced down. You should find that this stuff lines up pretty well. And if it doesn't, you'll probably need to squash this a bit when you glue it. I think I was getting that effect on the other side, which I can maybe show you. Now, if you're getting it way stronger on one side than the other, glue the side. I would think that it would be smart to glue the side that you're getting that effect on first, and then gluing the second side. So you can see how I have to push this down. There's quite a bit of a gap here if I just let it hang naturally. So when I glue it, I'm going to push this down a little bit. So we'll do this side first. And we're going to put a bead of glue all along this edge, sort of. This is what I call edge-on gluing, because you're gluing one edge of the cardboard onto the flat side of the other cardboard. So just put a bead of glue. Don't be afraid to use quite a bit for this. You don't want it running down on all sides or anything, but you do need to make that bond all the way along. Flex this out one last time, and then just again looking to match those arrows up if possible. Now if you're finding that when you match these arrows up nothing else is matching, I would recommend using the arrows as a guide and trying to make the vehicle look good. So that means if you have to have the arrows a little bit offset, I would choose that. But they are just a guide. But do try to use them. They're the best way to set this down. So once you've got that for a second held, so it's kind of holding in place, you can also, to strengthen it, because it's pretty delicate right now, I'm just going to take a bit of glue, put it along here, take one of these longer patches. You can see there's no overhang at all because this is completely level. That's good. You don't want that overhang. You can still see all your detailing where you need to put your wheels and everything through these patches, which is nice. Okay, just so make sure everything's meeting. And if you can, go to a different vehicle for a while, because you don't really want to be mashing and squashing one side to try to fit it in if you may be throwing the other side out. But because putting the second side in can be a little bit more challenging, the one thing that you can't do while doing the second side is while you're doing the first side, you can stick a bamboo skewer into here and pull this down if you need to meet. With the second side, you can't do that. You have to use only basically pressure on these two corner points can change the shape of the chassis a little bit for you to set your second side. But that's the only real way to modify its shape. Now this side will be holding it in shape, hopefully, as long as these are all set and dry. And that's why it's a decent idea to wait before putting the second side on, is because if you do have to flex this around a whole lot to get this side to fit in, you don't want this side popping off while you're doing it. But I'm going to risk it anyways and test fit this first, because when I test fit it before, I didn't need to move anything around to make it fit. So I'm just going to confirm that now. All the arrows seem to be lining up. There is no lip. That ends at the right place, that ends at the right place. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this on. Again, just putting a bead of glue along here. Making sure this thing is flat. Line up the arrows as your first indicator. And then try to confirm that everything is in its proper place. Yes, everything looks good. You can hold it for a bit if you feel uncomfortable, or if you're having to put some pressure on something to hold it in place, which I did with the other side. But this side is perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the patch on to solidify its position. Okay, so and that will complete the lower sides of the chassis.